Welcome to the Nick, Dick, and Paul Show. I'm Nick Bilton.
I'm Dick Costolo. Why is it impossible for us to get through this?
Introductions are the worst.
They really are. They're so bad. You constantly
Let's try it again. I'm Nick Bilton.
No, it was good.
I'm Nick Bilton. And you are?
Dick Costolo.
And he's Paul Kedrosky.
Perfect.
All right, there we go. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about health and wellness, but we're not going to be selling you anything. We're not.
I'm out. I was led to believe there was commission sales here.
We're not going to be telling you to take ivermectin because you have a cold or cancer. We are going to be discussing all of this stuff, but in a different way. Should we start with what do you want to start with? I have a question about peptides. Are they bullshit, or are they real? Are they?
So, I mean, peptides are absolutely real. The issue for most people,
they're not mythical creatures.
No, this is not. Yeah, we were talking about Beowulf earlier. This is not something out of Beowulf. The issue is, and this is the case, and maybe this is a good way in, is that, and this, I think, really accelerated during COVID, was that there's this hunger among people to believe that most of what Orthodox medicine tells them, or at least there's a fraction of what Orthodox medicine tells them that's not accurate, or at least I can go out and, quote, do the research and find out myself. And there's nothing wrong with that instinct in principle, because there's obviously lots of things, and that takes you back to your ivermectin comment, that brings us to peptides. All of these things have some efficacy for some purposes. It's the idea that this is now... medicine refuses to provide me this thing that's an all-purpose remedy for all kinds of things. That's where this is the trapdoor that people tend to fall through.
But it started 2020 COVID.
I think it accelerated 2020 COVID, where there was this idea that medicine refuses to tell me things. Now, there's been lots of times in the past where there's been various kind of lurches in that direction, but it really took off during that period because it was like, if I just stick my head in a
and we should blame
water.
What percentage you guys think?
I would say also that people, in the course of, quote, doing their own research, unquote, now confuse very limited small-scale studies with a 50,000 person article in Nature that was done over the course of 30 years.
Sure.
Right? So they'll say, no, I just read that I should take 20 grams of creatine instead of 5 grams of creatine because if you don't sleep, if you get little sleep, 20 grams of creatine totally makes up for it. You're like, okay, that was...
Yeah.
Do you guys think that it's all bullshit?
No.
No.
Okay, so what's real, what's fake,
Well, that's the problem, is that for the most part, this stuff, as Dick was saying...
Vitamin C, real.
Real. Exercise works for some people.
Although everyone I know gets injured doing exercise.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's a topic we should go. We can have a discussion
about. I golf
about.
better when I golf less. Is that the same or no?
Wait, keep going. So some of it's vitamin C is real. Peptides, like these DNA
point is,
tests.
Sure, we're at this really preliminary stage, whereas Dick was saying, like, we've got relatively small samples. The test sizes are getting larger, and you're trying to detect an effect size. If it's relatively small, I need a massive population of people to run the test on. I can't just rely on 50 people because there's huge noise. There's also a placebo effect where people try some exotic therapy. They really want to believe that it works. And it often does work because the placebo effect is incredibly powerful. Just because the medicine doesn't work and you feel better doesn't mean you didn't feel better.
Right.
You genuinely feel better.
Right.
And so this is the problem, is we're at this point where there's a bunch of interesting things that some of which will probably turn out to be really powerful, but the data doesn't support yet which ones truly have a material effect size. For the most part, that's not entirely true, but for the most part, that's the case.
Why don't we start with those?
Which again doesn't mean that they're nonsense. It just means that it's way too early for people to go out there with blanket statements like, load up on 250 of these and 100 of those and so on.
Yeah.
I think podcasters are to blame too, right? We should
100%
really give them.
Yeah. No, I mean, you watch these podcasts and someone will go on and the host, who's, a claimed authority on X, will interview the guest who they say is noted expert on Y. And then that person says, there are great studies out that say if you take 20 grams of creatine, it can make up for... Well, if you go actually dive into the studies, it's for 3 or 4 people.
What exactly is creatine, real quick?
What's that?
What is creatine?
Well, how would you? It's
a chemical
essentially
it's like a chemical monohydrate that makes it easier for you to produce ATP, which is to say the fuel that powers your cells. So which in principle, in parts of your body that are really high energy usage, like the brain uses 25% of your calories on a daily basis.
Which is crazy statistic. It's a crazy number, by the way.
Yeah, which is
just
crazy.
Just your brain
Takes
up 25%
even if you're not, and it
of the
doesn't
caloric
change much
intake.
whether you're thinking hard. So the point being, though, that's one of the reasons why, if you read the literature, like creatine is increasingly being proposed as a therapy for people with respect to like dementia and Alzheimer's, because in principle, if my brain is operating with at a higher level of energy with better vascular control, meaning you've got a higher blood flow to your brain, that all else being equal, it probably is preventative with respect to dementia. So there's all this, anyways, long-standing story about how creatine can have an effect release.
Creatine is usually, or not usually, maybe taken by people who are like lifting weights and doing a lot of resistance work, because it also helps your muscles in your body hold water.
Yeah.
Dick, do you think that there's a question we could ask? I feel like Paul's kind of like an LLM and will always answer, but I don't know if it's all right.
No, it's mostly nonsense.
Do you think that there's one we could ask him that he wouldn't know the answer to?
He's making it up as he goes along, but he's
true.
just incredibly effective at it.
Yeah. It's like, I like hallucinate as a living.
All right, so keep going. You were going on the podcasters, and then they're the experts, and then it becomes a clip.
This is a real one,
Yeah.
Oh, there are a bunch of studies out. Well, a bunch of studies turns out to be not a lot, a few studies. They're very small studies that in a few people resulted in, if you only got 2 or 3 hours of sleep, you were still able to deal with these cognitive, tests in a way that someone who had gotten 8 or 9 hours of sleep had done. But it didn't do that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So these blanket statements are made, and then people just, quote, do their own research, unquote, and say, well, I heard on the so-and-so podcast from this expert that was interviewed by this other expert that there are all these studies, and these things are just declared as facts.
And it also is the economics of supplements are so good. Like they're so ridiculously profitable.
They're super expensive, and it's all margin.
And it's all margin. So if
I just said that.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I was repeating because it was so good. And so because of the margin so good on it means that it's a great thing to sell on, podcasts or anything else. And as a result, almost everyone's secondary business is selling supplements, like, one day ours will clearly be. So they're out there flogging them nonstop. And it's hilarious. Like even I was reading somewhere the statistics on what's his name, the conspiracy theorist guy who got
Alex
sued.
Jones.
Alex Jones. See, you knew right away. Alex Jones' whole business had nothing to do with anything other than these ancillary sales, T-shirts and supplements.
Well, there's also the funny fact,
like $100 million business.
There's also the fact that like if you look at Gwyneth Paltrow and what she's selling on the left, and then you got Alex Jones and what he's selling on the right, it's actually the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all the same ingredients with different names.
You're going to get it now. We're getting angry audience emails incoming live.
Yeah, that's right. People showing up.
Well, I think we should just take a moment to say that this podcast is sponsored by ivermectin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all
stick it in your ear.
People, there's this weird, and it's actually happening. One is good, more is better, which we've learned year after year after year about. Everything is not true, but with creatine and these other supplements, people are, if one is good, 4 is probably amazing. You see it constantly.
It's crazy. We were talking about this in the context of this big race was going on recently, this 200-mile running race. And the single biggest concern in the race, like most races that are over about 10K, is that people overhydrate, which is so crazy. And it wasn't
just so the audience can understand, because I've been fascinated by this.
Right.
So
we'll go down the rabbit
there
hole.
was a race recently in Mammoth. It was a 200-mile race that people do running. And then I was researching people hallucinate.
Those are you run 200 miles for 45 hours and see if you aren't seeing the giant talking chocolate mushrooms.
Nonstop, pretty much. So the point is that in all of these things, and this dates back, we saw this in the Boston Marathon years ago, that people were told you should drink before you're thirsty. And that turned into this crazy prescription that you should stop at every drink station and drink. And the same thing is true, obviously, if you're running for 200 miles, which is also true for running a marathon, that more is better. And it turns out that more is better is not only wrong, in the context of those kinds of events, it's actually dangerous because very few people are hospitalized for dehydration. Virtually none. I don't even think it's happened in the last 5 or 10 Boston marathons. But people are regularly hospitalized for what's called hyponatremia, which is excessive water, which has diluted your blood sodium, your plasma sodium, and as a result, can be a medical emergency. And this is the same instinct that, like, if a little is good, people tell me I should drink. Are you about to make fun of hyponatremia?
No, I just love that you're like, in the last 5 marathons, 642,000 people ran and da-da-da-da-da.
There's certain things I know reasonably well.
If I had a nickel for every time Paul talked to me about hyponatremia, it's like, again with the hyponatremia, come on.
I wouldn't be doing this show. No. Anyway, but it's this instinct, right? This idea that if a little is good, people tell me I should drink because I'll feel better. I should have more. Same thing is true for if one supplement is good, why not 250?
Yeah. Now, does AI make this worse or better? Is it
worse.
solve it? Worse. Okay.
Worse for the following reason, and here's why.
Right.
I'll give you a specific example, and everyone listening will recognize this in someone they know. So, I have a friend who has high cholesterol and decides I'm not gonna go on a statin. I'm gonna lower my cholesterol naturally. So they hop over to Claude or ChatGPT and type in, here's my LDL. I want to lower it naturally. What do I do?
Yeah.
Brrr, here come the 19 things to go do. Red rice yeast or whatever the heck that is. All these things. I'm sure, again, as Paul and I are saying, sure, some of these things are great and you should definitely do them. But then there's, you should add in alpha lipoic acid and add in this. And pretty soon they're taking 19 things.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe 1 or 2 things.
Well, then you get into this, even if they are working, and it's no different than if you watch, one of the biggest issues in elder care is that they end up on 20 different medications.
Right.
And then the problem is you're taking medications for the medications.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of all the interactions.
Right.
It's no different in supplements. Things start interacting with each other. I take one thing for one purpose, and we were talking about this earlier. Suddenly it's limiting iron absorption, and I'm anemic. And it's like, wait a minute, I was using this for something else. And so this is the problem as well, that even if it does work, taking so many things at once is no different than in elder care when they're taking 20 different medications and suddenly this, which I'm taking for my heart problem, is causing me to be weak and I fell over and break a hip.
By the way, they also, everyone who's, I should say, most people who are typing this in and then writing it down and going and buying all the things don't know what most of these things do.
No.
I had another friend over for dinner. He's like, I'm on a regimen now every day for, trying to get in shape. So I'm taking a bunch of supplements along with exercising for the first time. So I typed into, ChatGPT or Claude, I'm doing this. What should I take? And I said, before you say anything, I bet you're taking alpha lipoic acid. And he's like, oh, are you doing this? Are you on the same, stack?
Regimen?
Yeah. And I'm like, no, it suggests that for most things. I need to lower my cholesterol. I have a nerve issue. I have a joint issue.
Yeah.
I want to, lower the inflammation in my body. And he's like, wow, I didn't realize that. I said, here's my next question for you. What does alpha lipoic acid do? Zero idea. None. They're just write it. Yeah. We wouldn't do this in any other thing in
life.
Domain of life.
You're essentially getting health advice from Reddit.
Yeah, that's right. So the average 37-year-old on Reddit says I should do this. Well, then I'll do it. I'm in. Sign me up for that.
I have a brain tumor. You go to Reddit. You don't ask a doctor. And that's the answer. What about these tests where they can predict or not predict? They can find if you have like the Pronovos and all those things, the body scans, yes, but also like the tests where they can see if you have cancer from a blood test and things like that.
Blood test. Yeah. Paul and I are going to have some disagreement here, but you go first.
I can disagree with me right away and save you the trouble.
Good.
Just cut you out. No middleman.
Now, what Dick would say if he were smart.
He won't say these things. So these things have really taken off in recent years, in part because our ability to detect minute quantities of cancerous material in blood plasma has actually accelerated a lot. So we're able to detect lots of things in relatively small samples quicker than we used to be able to. And it's also taken off because it's terrific business. So let's say there's a number of companies out there selling baskets of tests for anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to subscription services, $25,000. This is good business. The marginal the margin on those things is like 99%, right? I mean,
So it's $1,000 to do a test.
it's costing them
And
nothing.
what's it costing them?
Like pennies.
Pennies, wow.
But yeah. So it's great business for them. And so that doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's just, it's important to keep in mind that this is a terrific business selling you the tests. And again, I'll back into this by saying, think about the people who are being tested. The people who are being tested are generally the people who have the lowest propensity to actually be ill. It tends to be people who can afford $1,000 tests. Why
are you pointing at Dick? He can't afford a $1,000 test.
No.
No, that's right. It's not Dick. And so these populations tend to have the lowest incidences of most of the things that they're testing for.
So you're saying
because they're actually fairly healthy people who take reasonable care of themselves.
People who are looking after themselves are going to be the ones that do the test rather than the ones who
So the expression they use in the industry, they call them the worried well, right? I'm targeting the worried well. So they're well, but they're worried. I like those guys because these baskets of tests are really appealing. Again, it doesn't mean the tests don't work. It's important to keep in mind all of these things that are happening higher up the chain, right? That they're highly profitable. They're mostly targeting people who aren't likely to be sick in the first place because they're the people who can afford these tests, who are the worried well, who tend to be relatively high income. And
I think the scams so this is where we disagree. I agree with you completely about the worried well, and that's going to be a trillion or multi-trillion-dollar wellness industry.
Fabulous, yeah.
The supplements themselves are crazy expensive, but then everyone amongst the worried well is also on the daily, I don't know, whatever, athletic green, whatever it is now, AG1, they're on this, and then they're doing that, and I take this before I go to bed, and like with some unknown, perhaps placebo effect on the test that you're talking about, like the blood test to detect cancer particles, cancer material, and the body scans and so forth. If you've got if a friend who has pancreatic cancer, we probably all know somebody who's had pancreatic cancer. If you have pancreatic cancer, you usually don't detect it until it's spread to some other part of your body because it just doesn't hurt until it's in your stomach or your lungs or whatever. And then you're like, oh, my hurts when I breathe. And then you go find out whoops, too late. Yeah. So the benefit of these blood tests is, okay, now you can find it much, much earlier. And so there's really no other way to
there isn't, but the problem is that
you're not going to go in every year and get
they're good. Are you saying that?
I'm saying like they're helping people who you would never otherwise find.
But you're saying that they're false positives?
You wouldn't otherwise find out until it's too late.
Right. And that's true. And I mean, so the problem is that for the most part, we're talking about relatively rare cancers. Pancreatic cancer, let's pick on that one as an example.
But they don't just do pancreatic cancer. They do all kinds of cancer.
Right, but we've got really good tests for the high prevalence cancers. Colon cancer is a good example, right? We've got a very good effective test. Right, and it works really well, and we can actually diagose and treat at the same time.
So my favorite thing to do every 5 years.
Yeah. It's like a weight loss clinic. So we've for the higher prevalence cancers, there are very effective tests out there that do not require this. So mostly those have already been picked off. So what we're talking about, for the most part, if you look at the pages of all the listed indications that the cancers that might be detected by these tests, most of those are low prevalence cancers. And pancreatic cancer, just to pick a number, is a good example, where it's about 1 in 10,000, right? The incidence rate in an otherwise healthy population is about 1 in 10,000. And the problem you run into is that that's a very low prevalence, obviously. That's a vanishingly small number. Even with a relatively low false positive rate, it's like on the order of, say, 0.5%, which is pretty darn good, and 100% sensitivity, meaning that if it's there, you actually detect it, you're still going to say, let's say in a population of 100,000, it's about a 95% chance that a positive test is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right? So this is a huge issue. Why is this a huge issue? Almost all positives are going to be false, which is most people don't like math. The reality is...
I was just going to say, the problem is our society is so innumerate now.
And they'll also do the thing of, well, I know a guy who.
Yeah,
The inevitable response is, or they'll say, this is my favorite, is they'll say, yeah, but what about if it's you?
Right.
Oh, yeah, what about if it's me, right? Let's just ignore the whole statistics thing that it's like, this is so wildly unlikely. And so the problem is then you have to do follow-up tests, which are also expensive. You then may have to do more invasive procedures.
Yeah, I was going to say biopsy,
which can have other complications and so on. And so this isn't to say that it's not great to have early detection of these cancers. It's more just to suggest that the mass screening of humans for low incidence conditions is generally a really bad idea because we expensively test for things that, for the most part, we're not going to find, and we're going to not find expensively with consequences.
So would your advice, Dr. Paul, be to only
My dad
test?
used to say that all the time. He said, "You're a doctor, but you're not the useful kind."
I mean, but isn't this one of those things that's, blood test for me, but not for thee? Like, yeah, so everyone shouldn't do it. I, of course, am going to do it.
Yes, that's
Would
right.
you do it?
No,
because
not in a million years.
Because why?
Well, I have no...
Because it doesn't run in your family?
Yeah, and because the statistics tell me the likelihood of me getting a false positive is so high, which will be so stressful and annoying, I want no part of this. Let's say you have a family history of some specific kind of, whether it's a breast cancer.
That's all of them.
Right. So, or it's a, prostate cancer, whatever else. Obviously, it changes the base rate. But the point is, population-wide, is it a good idea? Like, I see companies, for example, offering this as part of their health benefits. So they'll do executive health screenings, where they'll bring you in for the day. I'll do a bunch of blood panels. I'll run you through an MRI and a CT scan. Honestly, this is lead gen. This is pure medical lead gen because they know it's going to turn into 1 million follow-up procedures. It's insanely profitable. And the likelihood of them finding anything, given the low prevalence of most of the things they're checking for, is insanely low. And then, eventually one person will get it.
You've also now have doctors who insta-suggest the follow-up imaging test because they don't want to get sued.
It's the defense.
So they're like, if there's any...
As soon as they get anything, even if they know it's likely, I've got to do all of this. They call it a testing cascade. It's this testing cascade I have to do immediately afterwards. So the answer for me is no, and I'm very suspicious of whenever people say, I know a guy who, because I know you know a guy who. That's what happens in the world.
But I know
In fact, I had a colonoscopy, and afterwards they're like, all fine, all good. This is my primary care physician. The only thing is, your colon doesn't look structurally like other colons. When why do you get an MRI? It's like it doesn't look good. Like it's ugly.
Hate that.
It's not a hot colon. I wouldn't post this. I wouldn't post this selfie of your colon to any of the social
Thank
apps.
you for this visual. This is really amazing.
No, what? It goes left when it's supposed to go right. Like,
did you get the MRI?
It's vertical. No, because this is one where it's like, I'm gonna let this one go.
I'm gonna let this one go. This doesn't seem worth the follow-up.
So are you guys totally against the Pronobos of which is a total Silicon Valley fad? Everyone I know there does it all the time. Like it's like, what are you doing on Sunday? I'm going to get a body scan and then a $12 cappuccino. Like, do you think that there's any benefit to these things?
Well, sure, but then you're arguing from exceptions. There will always be someone who benefits.
Yeah,
but there
are from Pronovas.
Absolutely.
I know of multiple stories of I went and got this thing and it felt totally fine and it found a golf ball sized tumor,
Right,
wherever in my colon.
But that's that's the explanation. But that's always the problem, right? So you're forced to argue from the exceptions rather than turn it around and say, should this be in health insurance plans? Should we in society be willing to pay for this for everyone if it's so useful? And the answer, of course, is no, because here's the problem. The problem is it's going to lead to all of these incidental findings, all of these false positives, all of these testing cascades. So if you as an individual say, you know what, this is something that makes me feel good about myself, go crazy. But as a population, it doesn't work.
Isn't part of the problem right now, so biotech is having not a great time, right? There's been no biotech IPOs in the last year.
Look at these GLP-1 things.
Well, we should discuss the GLP and the peptides, but real quick. But so there haven't been these advancements in medicine that we have expected, but there have been these private company versions of it. So you get these stories. It's like goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You get these stories of people that are like, I know a guy on a podcast who knew a guy who found a golf ball sized tumor in his weird looking colon. And then it's kind of filling a void. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think that's an interesting way of thinking about it, is that people feel like in every other walk of life, I'm seeing this constant pace of innovation. Why are you biotech people keeping it from me? Right? Where's the ChatGPT of life sciences? I need more stuff, right? And so people are hungry for it. They find it because there is a constant flow of things. It's mostly low evidence, small sample size, low effect, effect size and what have you. So
that getting back to your original, when we first got started, hey, what's going on with us? It's peptide stuff I'm hearing about. People are hearing it because their friends are taking them for all manner of things.
Yep.
They don't have any idea what they do, but they've heard they're great, and people, we should be taking them. I mean, for pain, for recovery, for ADD, for like you name it. And there's so much misinformation out there about them. Meanwhile, the studies on these things particularly are super small,
peptides.
super small sample size.
Yeah.
Lots of them mostly in Eastern Europe so far, not really in the US. So not that there's anything wrong. Look, there's nothing wrong with Eastern Europe. There's some
Huge fan.
there's
Terrific
some, there's some
castles.
very fine people over there in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, and the castles.
Yeah, terrific castles, vampires. They've got it all. But you'll see I was leaving a restaurant. This is seared into my brain. I was leaving a restaurant the other day in Manhattan, and as I'm walking out, this guy is talking to the three other people at his table and says, well, growth hormone and HGH, that's all peptides now.
Wow.
And I left thinking,
Yeah.
that's going to go very badly for some people.
It's all getting rebranded.
It's all getting, there's like, as if these things are a rebrand of HGH, you know, like what?
Yeah.
So you wonder, like, how did you get there? But
I think some of it, one of the things that I find really interesting is, and there's been some interesting stuff lately about this, but how lifespan, the increase in human lifespan is sort of arrested. It's not growing as much as it was mid-century for a whole bunch of different reasons. But the amount of time people spend ill towards the end of their lives is growing.
Right.
So there's called the morbidity versus mortality process. So when you die versus how crappy you feel for the last X many years.
Yep.
And people see that. We're going to live in an aging population. And I think one of the latent fears people have, I need to do something to prevent that from happening to me.
I don't want the last 20 years to be me hobbling around on 14 different medicines.
So some of that is this feeling like there must be something medicine can do, even if it can't increase my lifespan, there must be something we can do about spending the last 20 years in ill health. And so that's part of the hunger for these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also everything's a meme. We've talked about this before, but like everything's a meme, and it's all we see one thing, and then it becomes it spreads on TikTok and Instagram and this, that, and the other, and that's how everyone gets their information. And there's no decided upon agreement of what is real and what is not, and so it's all plucking.
Well, and it's also that there's only about 3 things that move the needle in terms of actually human health, right?
Which are?
Let me guess. It's going to be nutrition, sleep, exercise.
Yeah, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and then maybe a distant fourth is having a good circle of friends, right? And that's it. Those are the high evidence things that have moved the needle the most with respect to human health, and people don't like any of those. I don't have that much control over my sleep. I hate eating that crappy food you keep trying to make me eat. Don't even try to make me run. And most of my friends are idiots. So it's like, screw it. I want peptides, right?
or could do some of those new peptides.
Yeah. This is an easy decision.
Going back to what you were just saying about life expectancy, why is it slowed down because so many, you're taking the average from all these people that have died from fentanyl and COVID and things like that, or is it slowed down for everyone?
No, it's slowed down across the board. It's partly, though, because there was this dramatic effect. Both COVID and fentanyl had a huge effect on U.S. lifespans. In terms of the aggregate figure, that's true. But the bigger issue was that most of the gains, this is the story that medicine doesn't tell very well, but most of the gains in longevity in the last 100 years were a single thing, which was reduced infant mortality. And so that fed into the entire statistic. So once we brought infant mortality down to basically zero, I mean, very, very low levels, that led to much longer aggregate figures in terms of total lifespan because people weren't dying in the first 2 years of life. And you don't get that gain twice.
Right.
And it's a similar story to a lesser degree with antibiotics. We don't get that gain twice. So then you're left with, what do we do at the end of life? Maybe we just load people with peptides and hope for ivermectin. So that's it. Is that it's a kind of a confusion about where gains in mortality came from? That they mostly came at the front end of the curve.
Can we also make sure? I also want to talk about like things that actually work in wellness and exercise regimens. One of the things I've noticed as I've gotten older is my exercise regimen has changed from, I used to just lift weights 4 days a week and then run 2 days a week, or cycle, cardio 2 days a week, lift 4 days a week. And I've migrated to still doing a bunch of resistance training and weights, but adding in mobility work.
Oh, yeah.
And
What's mobility work? What's an
like
example?
flexibility, mobility work, making sure, coil squats, not just doing weighted
coil
back
squat.
squats or front squats, but
Yeah,
like
I love the coil squat.
dragon squats, single leg
Yeah, I
squats,
love
coil
a good
squats.
dragon squat.
Yeah.
The fuck is a coil squat?
I mean, I'm not going to get up and demonstrate it right now, although I could.
Explain how it works. I just
Yeah,
imagine.
you're like it's basically thoracic rotation of your spine as you
thoracic
do a
rotation.
single leg squat into
This is
a.
all on his YouTube channel.
You can see it all on my.
Do you coil
You
squat
can
too,
listen.
Paul?
Like really,
Just subscribe to my OnlyFans coil squat account, and you'll be fine. No, but so it's. I think there's it's funny. I saw this former huge CrossFitter guy from 10 years ago doing his. You see these fitness bros always doing the age is just a number. I'm like, yeah, wait till you get to 60, and it turns out it's a little more than just a number.
Yeah.
I'm still doing the same amount of burpees and like. And just if keep on doing that stuff or doing the one, I only go to Pilates or I only go to SoulCycle or I only go to Barry's, like that constant repetition of just doing the same few things, even though it seems like, no, we do 4 or 5 different things at Barry's. You really have to vary or should be varying your workout much, much more than that. Or sooner or later, you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
Why is it? How do you get injured sooner or later from doing the same thing over and over? Isn't your body just
You're activating the same muscles and not activating other muscles, and it's the same thing as like go run on pavement, for every day for 5 years, and then go run in the sand. You're like, wait a minute, now it's like.
Yeah, it's like all your motions are like in line. Let's say you're always running or cycling, and then suddenly I have to jump sideways to do something. I'm going to tear an adductor or something. Right.
Do tons of lateral movement work now, which is great for tennis. And if you don't do that and you're just running, I don't know what happened. I'm in great cardio shape, and then I went to play tennis and I tore my Achilles.
Yeah,
you're not doing any lateral movement work.
Yeah.
So that kind of mobility work, I'm doing a lot of reflex work now just to keep my, hand-eye coordination stuff, like drop this tennis ball, catch it with the other hand, all that stuff. Nick is looking
all the
at
stuff Nick does.
I literally, I'm looking at you and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? He drops a tennis ball.
Yeah, it's reaction work.
Reaction work. It's
scary.
great. It's also scary when you haven't done reaction work and reflex work, and then you do it for the first few times, and you realize, wait a minute, I got to do that again. I didn't do it right on my left hand that time, and then you realize, I'm actually a lot slower in mental and physical reactions from my left side than my right side. What? Yeah. It's crazy. You're like, it's, and then, and you get better and better and better. But if you don't do any of that stuff, then you're 82 years old and you go down the stairs and you trip and you go like, why I wasn't able to grasp the handrail fast enough with my left hand.
Everything happened too fast.
Yeah.
And then there's that statistic. I think you told us that if you fall, 85 or under 85, you're dead. Essentially,
it was over 80, but
over 80 because you end up in the hospital.
Right, you end up getting this.
Then you're in the death spiral of literal death spiral of. Now I'm in the hospital. I can't move.
Yeah.
I'm atrophying. My muscles are atrophying more.
Yeah, you get in this cascade of problems, right? When suddenly it's not the fall that killed you; it'll be some secondary infection like pneumonia or whatever else, because your system's activated to deal with one problem and it doesn't have enough capacity to deal with two, and the second one gets here, right? But that's the thing, though. I mean, in all of this stuff, which is crazy, is that people are so desperate to avoid doing the things that work.
Yeah,
that's the part that I find really remarkable.
1,000%.
Also, it's not like nobody wants to. I'm going to go into Equinox in my aloe, gear and do mobility work.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, I'm going to go in and bench 2 plates. I'm going to go in and do military style strict pull-ups.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go do mobility work at Equinox.
I go in and I do my coils.
Your coils.
Yeah.
On your YouTube channel.
On my YouTube channel, on my OnlyFans. Wait, I have a question. So we've seen all these technological advancements in every form of our life. There's robots delivering food. I actually ordered food from a robot the other day. It fell over. I had to go rescue it.
Really?
Literally, it tipped. I was so excited that I was getting my first
How
robot
close did
delivery.
it get?
Like around the corner. I was so excited. I was filming it because I knew the kids would want to see it. And I was sitting there
And
filming.
what, did it take a fast turn? What happened?
I don't know what happened. It was on the sidewalk.
What do you mean it fell over?
It's one of those little,
I have a photo. I can show you guys. It was.
I think you're going to
literally-
be prosecuted for tipping the robot over.
I've heard about
No,
this robot
and,
tipping.
and I was sitting there and I'm waiting, and 5 minutes goes by, and 6, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I walk over, and there it is. It's like on its side, and it's like, help me, I can't get up. And I helped it up, and then I had to walk back with it to my house because it wouldn't give me the food on the street. I had to follow it. So
Well, yeah.
anyway,
Of course, it's not going to give you the food on the street. You could be anybody.
Where are you going with this?
I'm just saying, so there's driverless cars, there's robots that can almost deliver our food, that we've got LLMs, we've got all these technologies. And yet we haven't had like a new infant mortality
He's saying there are all these advances, and yet in human health,
This is the what have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. But why have there been no advancements?
But there have, obviously.
But then, okay, if there have, why are we not living longer?
Well, because that's a different problem. So human mortality is evolution doesn't need us after we have kids.
Right.
So all of the problems we're having right now are largely because they were never selected against. Because by the time we reach the ages that we have all of the diseases, heart diseases, cancer, we were all dead by this point.
The kids are off and running around in the forest and collecting berries on their own.
You died at age 45. It didn't matter. And so evolution never selected against those genes. So we're the byproduct of that. We're carrying a whole bunch of things, some of which were probably good for us whenever we were younger, that are now maladaptive, that are now going to cause these problems, and evolution doesn't care. So you're fighting that force, which is a really difficult force to fight against, that you shouldn't be alive.
And yet we have all these, like the Brian Johnsons of the world, that believe that they can stop.
Right. By
the way, I'm taking the other side of that bet.
Which one?
That there's not going to be death there somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, somewhere in there it's coming.
Somewhere in there. I might not be tomorrow, but there's going to be a little death.
Yeah,
at least one.
But that instinct, and we've talked about this before, but that instinct towards, whether it's the don't die movement or the science will save us, or I'll live forever through my legacy. This is, as long as we've been modern humans, 300,000 years plus, that instinct has existed. So it's no particular surprise that continues, and whether it's Brian Johnson or whoever else. It's just what people refuse to recognize is the forces they're fighting against, which is that we're at a point now where most of the things we want to fight against are things that evolution never selected against. So it's wired throughout us. And that's why you get into this issue where people start doing things like, cell senescence treatments, this idea that we can treat cells so they don't die as quickly and then don't become a burden on the body for more inflammation, that has other problems. The treatments increasingly have side effects that mitigate against them actually working because the system itself is, our decrepitude's kind of built in.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we're just all going to die.
Yeah, I know that's a shocker, but yes.
Should we move on to our media of the week?
Yes, let's.
Paul, you want to start?
Well, I was talking earlier about how I was saying I was thinking about this in the context of Frankenstein and some of the monster movies that are out right now, that this idea of increasingly looking at these from the standpoint of the monster, and this has become a thing. As in my single favorite book of that kind, which I just finished rereading recently, is John Gardner's Grendel, which is, I guess, kind of the OG of those sorts of books, in that it took the perspective of the monster in retelling the story of Beowulf from the standpoint of Grendel.
I haven't read it. Is it good?
Well, Gardner is an absolutely tremendous writer. Yeah. So just from this pure standpoint of writerly craft, he's up there for me with Cormac McCarthy. Like he is genuinely one of the greatest writers in the English language. What I like about Grendel is that it's not just this, hey, here's a fresh perspective, I'm going to look at it from the standpoint of the monster, is the monster becomes so much more interesting than any of the main characters, well, than Beowulf, who's not particularly interesting in the first place, but then anyone else in it. And he's not just sympathetic.
When did he write it? Do you know?
58, I think.
Yeah, and this is literally the OG villain origin story, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this take from the perspective of the monster. It's the first kind of way before the movies were doing this. It's the OG villain origin story. Yeah, when did I read it? Don't worry about it.
Way before like Wicked and all these. That's what I find interesting is that all of this stuff has now become like, if you think about it, people mining IP, your industry, mining IP to create news, that actually Gardner's Grendel.
I love how it's my industry. Like I'm the one.
You are. You're the representative.
You're our local rep.
Your guys' industries are way worse than mine.
Is this what we're on about now? Whose industry's the worst? This is a battle to the bottom.
All right.
It's all bad. So
Keep going.
That's what I like is that it was the OG version of that is a wonderful writer, and the strangest thing about it all for me is that it's completely neglected. It's like you literally bring it up and people. Well,
I read a million books. I haven't read it.
Yeah. See,
so there you go. Boom. I'm excited to read it. Dick, what do you got?
Mine is Ford Maddox Ford's The Good Soldier. It might be the saddest book ever, but it's basically, short story short, about two couples from the perspective of the narrator. It was one of the men in one of the couples, John Dowell. I think his first name is John. Last name is Dowell. Yeah. Dowell. And hidden vulnerabilities and affairs are revealed, resulting in madness and despair and suicide.
Yeah. It's a wonderful
with a big closing number.
And it's a wonderful book. One of the things
fantastic
that I love about that book, and I love about Ford Maddox Ford in general, is that this is the OG stuff. He was kind of the OG unreliable narrator guy.
Yep.
Everything you learn seems completely straightforward and trustworthy, but it becomes clear that, without no spoilers, that lots of it is completely unreliable.
That's right.
But told in a way that seems completely accurate and true. And so this idea of this rug pull of I don't actually know anymore what the truth is in this story, and which is true in almost in any sort of couple's relationship. It's
also, great name, Ford Maddox Ford.
Yeah,
love that name.
Yeah, that's true. It sounds like something from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, or it's just a really cool name. I think if your name is Ford Maddox Ford, you get to do whatever you want.
Or you should do car commercials.
Yeah.
Ford Maddox Ford here with the latest.
ABC.
Welcome to Ford Maddox Ford's Ford. It doesn't work really. There's too many Ford. There's a third Ford. It's got to be Ford Maddox Ford's Chevrolet dealership.
What's yours, Nick?
Mine is I just read Jordan Harper's She Rides Shotgun. It's like a modern book.
Yep.
It's like it's just a really fun. They're making it into a movie right now.
Of course. It reads like a movie.
It reads like a movie. It's
what's the genre or whatever?
How would you describe the genre? Is it like it's kind of like an Elroy kind of
like
a noir,
yes.
But it's very cinematic. I just read it in
it's very cinematic, like a Elmore Leonard book kind of.
Yeah, it's
set where?
Set in L.A.
I don't actually remember where it's set.
Yeah, it's set in L.A., Koreatown, things like that. It's a really fun. I can see I think it'll be a great movie. But it's just a fun page turner, and these characters, and you're kind of rooting for this for this girl to. I don't want to give it away. It's a really good. You'll like it, I think. You'll hate it probably, actually. So
no, why would I hate it? I'm not a hater.
Maybe you'll like it. I don't know.
I love noir, so I'm.
Oh, you do?
It's a little pulpy.
Yeah, no, but I love Elmore Leonard, Elroy. Dashiell Hammett, all that.
I tried to read that Raymond Chandler book that you guys recommended.
Long Goodbye.
Little Sister, or Long Goodbye.
I did not like it.
Come on.
I did not like it.
God.
Oh, God. It was so
something
painful.
wrong with you.
So painful.
No taste.
All right.
All right. That's a wrap.